Someone once believed that when someone dies, a crow carries their soul to the land of the dead. But sometimes something so bad happens, that a terrible sadness is carried with it, and the soul can't rest. Then sometimes, just sometimes, the crow brings that soul back to put the wrong things right.
On the night of October 30th, Shelley Webster, who was a painter whose world was filled with vibrant colors, but now she sees everything in stark contrasts of black and white. Her eyes fluttered open to a room that looked eerily familiar. The smell of antiseptic lingered in the air, and the cold metal of a hospital bed sent a shiver down her spine. Her body felt heavy, as if it was made of lead. But she knew she didn't have much time left. After 30 hours of intense pain and suffering, her body finally gave out and she was no longer among the living, along with her fiancé. Moments earlier, Shelley was all alone in a loft she was renting with her fiancé, Eric Draven, who was out getting groceries. Suddenly, Shelley hears a knocking on the door which she answers thinking Eric must have forgotten his key, but to her shock, it was a heathenistic gang of thugs.
Excuse us, ma'am. Did you send us these complaints?
One of the thugs named T-Bird taunts her before grabbing the poor defenseless woman.
Code violations? Safety hazards? Place looks fine to me. Let's redecorate, boys.
T-Bird shouts before handing Shelley off to two other goons named Skank and Funboy. They begin to ransack and trash the loft, and all the while, Eric can hear the commotion as he approaches the door that was ajar.
Shelley?
Eric calls for her as he opens the door, but before he can even think, another thug named Tintin hurls a knife at him which stabs poor Eric right in his chest.
See, yo!
Tintin yells out as they all watch Eric slump to the floor, dropping the bag of groceries. The gang would take turns beating up and violating poor Shelley as they forced Eric to watch before shooting him and throwing his body out of a 15-story window. About an hour later, police and medics arrived on scene to pick up both Eric's body and Shelley, who was still alive but was on borrowed time.
Where's Eric?
Shelley asks Officer Albrecht, who was with her, as her friend Sarah came running to check on her.
Don't worry about him right now. Just focus on you, miss.
Shelley? Is she okay?
Sarah asks the officer.
Just tell Eric to take care of Sarah for me.
Shelley makes what would be her final request.
You Sarah?
Albrecht asks the young preteen.
Yeah.
Look, your sister. She's gonna be okay.
The officer lies.
Shelley's not my sister. She's my friend. Her and Eric. They take care of me. You lied to her about Eric.
I had to.
And you're lying to me about Shelley. She's gonna die, isn't she?
Sarah's eyes begin to well up with tears before Albrecht offers her a hug, which she accepts. 1 year later, Sarah can be seen visiting the cemetery, which is now the final resting place for Shelley Webster and Eric Draven. Sarah leaves some flowers for the couple before she takes her leave. Sarah can hear a crow cawing as it lands on Shelley's tombstone.
So, what are you supposed to be? The night watchman?
She addresses the mythical blackbird before she finally leaves. Minutes later, the crow begins to peck at Shelley's tombstone before the dirt and soil starts to vibrate and shake from the force of Shelley's newfound strength as she pushes her casket open. She crawls out of her grave, looking just as lovely as ever, with old wounds seemingly healed. She lets out a guttural scream as all her memories leading up to the night of hers and Eric's death on Devil's Night the previous year. Sarah on her skateboard pulls up to Mickey's hot dog stand, where Officer Albrecht was about to enjoy a hot dog.
No, Mickey, what are you doing? You gotta put the mustard on the bun first. Here, let me do it.
Hey, that's the Sarah monster.
Mickey greets Sarah very warmly.
Now Sarah here is a genuine hot dogger. You hungry?
You buying?
I'm buying.
Okay, but no onions though. They make you fart, big time.
The two men laugh at Sarah's remark towards the spicy vegetable. Meanwhile, Shelley was slowly but surely making her way back to the old loft that was hers and Eric's former home. She stumbles a jewelry store before it explodes with a blast that can be heard for miles, which did catch the attention of Albrecht, Mickey, and of course Sarah.
What was that?
You stay here.
He warns Sarah.
Mickey! Call it in for me, will ya?
The store's owner comes stumbling out of the front entrance before into Shelley's arms.
They're evil, help, please.
The woman says in between her last gasping breaths. Shelley sees who the woman is referring to with her special touch. She sees the gang of men who murdered her and Eric. They must be the same ones who rigged the explosives. After laying the woman gently, Shelley continues on to reach her home with the crow that brought her back to life flying overhead. Finally, she reaches her destination, making her way upstairs to the old familiar loft she and Eric called home. As she approaches, she notices the police caution tape, which she rips off before opening the door. The place was in complete ruin, with pieces of shattered glass all over the floor, among some pictures from her former life and personal belongings. Suddenly, she sees their cat Gabriel walking out to greet her.
Gabriel.
She calls to him before picking him up, which triggers her ability to see past events. She releases Gabriel as she relives the events of hers and Eric's brutal deaths. She can be seen reenacting the events as they play out.
Don't look! Eric! Don't look!
She whimpers before raging out, smashing more pieces of glass that cut her, but she notices her wounds healing up instantly. She takes a moment or so to process the events that led her to this point, and better understand her newfound abilities she's been blessed with while realizing what her purpose is now. She must track down each member of this street gang and avenge the deaths of the love of her life as well as herself to set the wrong things right. She goes through her wardrobe and throws on a black long-sleeve half-shirt that shows her midsection, a pair of black leather skin-tight pants, and a pair of black boots. She then approaches her vanity, where an irony mask hangs on the right side of the mirror which Eric had used to scare her once that inspires her makeup design. First she goes for the white foundation before applying the black eyeshadow all over the area around her eyes including her brows. Next came the 4 points, 2 above the eyes, and the 2 below. Finally she applies her black lipstick before adding exaggerated smiling points on both sides of her mouth. Shelley takes a moment to take in her new look before she sets out on her mission. Meanwhile, over at Gideon's pawn shop, Gideon was looking over some items that Tintin brought in to pawn off.
Look at this, man. Is that blood?
Gideon questions as he tries to look for a reason to give a low offer to Tintin.
I'll give you $100 for the whole shebang, and I hate charities.
Cheap ass. Chrome dome, child molestin, sacrifice, motherfucker.
Tintin responds to the shortened deal as he takes the cash before making his way to the exit.
Hey, lock the door on your way out.
Oh! I'll lock it up real good for you, master. Fuck you.
Tintin does as he was asked before walking away from the pawn shop.
You lucky I don't stab your fat ass.
Tintin mutters to himself as Shelley's crow watches him, which she can also see through the bird's eyes. Tintin approaches a barrel that was being used as a makeshift fire pit, which he uses to light up a cigarette. Shelley takes a swan dive off a rooftop and lands a pile of trash bags and discarded cardboard before letting out a sinister laugh that echoes throughout the alleyway, catching Tintin's attention. Tintin sees the dark, mysterious woman approaching him.
The fuck you all painted up for her?
He shouts, referring to Shelley's makeup design her face.
All we need to Liana.
He teases before kicking the burning barrel towards her, which she dodges before rushing the goon to the ground. Tintin manages to punch into her face, but Shelley doesn't feel it, so she grabs him and throws him to a nearby brick wall before threatening to strike Tintin, who's suddenly trembling in fear after being overpowered by the painted warrior who now has him pinned against the wall.
I don't even know you, girl, or what you want.
I want you to tell me a story about a couple in a loft a year ago.
Her tone was filled with rage.
I don't know what you mean. I don't remember. Some asshole, some bitch, whatever.
She punches him.
Listen. You know exactly what I'm talking about. The woman, her name was Shelley Webster. You violated her, right in front of her fiancé named Eric Draven, after you stabbed him.
Tintin begins to taunt her.
Oh! Shelly, yeah! I shanked her pink ass, and she loved it.
Tintin manages to catch the painted warrior off guard, before picking up a lead pipe to get some hits into her.
Murder! Murder! Let me tell you something about murder, my dear. It's fast, and it's easy. You're gonna learn all about it.
He removes his trench coat before pulling out 2 throwing knives, which her crow sees so she would be ready.
I'd like for you to meet 2 buddies of mine. We never miss.
He throws the first knife as Shelley was getting back to her feet, but she ducks right in time. Tintin throws a second knife, but Shelley slaps it away.
You're gonna have to do better. Come on. 3rd time's the charm.
She taunts, and with that, Tintin lets out a frustrating scream as he throws a 3rd knife, which Shelley catches this time before hurling it back at him, stabbing him in the right shoulder, causing him to fall back against a stack of pallets. Shelley manages to pin him against the pallets before unsheathing a 4th knife from him.
Victims, aren't we all?
She says sarcastically before delivering the final blow. Meanwhile, T-Bird and Skank had arrived at Top Dollar's Club and HQ for a meeting. The place was alive with a live band performing for wild crowd.
Out of my way, you filthy degenerates! What is this world coming to?
Skank makes his way to the nearby bar for some cocktails while T-Bird heads upstairs. As T-Bird approaches Dollar's living quarters, he sees Grange exiting to meet him.
Good news! Shayna's Jewelers and Kincaid's arcade games fell down. Go boom.
Boom? I'm sure they'll be pleased. Gather up your crew. You're on for this evening.
Is the man in?
He's taking a meeting.
While the 2 men were talking, Top Dollar and his girl Micah were sharing a tender moment together, with Dollar holding a dark cemetery snow globe while sitting on the edge of their bed.
Something on your mind, darling.
Dad gave me this a long time ago. He said, childhood is over the moment you know you're gonna die.
Top Dollar says before Micah looks over at the lifeless woman that lies in their bed.
How is she?
I think we've broken her.
He replies as he checks on the now dead woman. Micah leans in close to the woman's face with a dagger in hand.
I like her eyes. They're so pretty.
She says before she begins to cut the woman's eyes out. Over at a local bar known as The Pit, Sarah arrives to find her mom Darla, who works there as a bartender, making out with her boyfriend Funboy, one of the goons responsible for Shelley and Eric's tragic deaths on Devil's Night the previous year, although both Sarah and Darla were not aware of this.
Thought you were gonna get us dinner, huh, Darla?
Sarah addresses her mother's negligence.
She's busy. Why don't you go play with your dolls or whatever?
I don't have any dolls.
Sarah fires back as her mom passes some of her tips to Sarah.
Look, kiddo, how about you go get some food or something, huh?
Someone already bought dinner for me. The police.
Funboy gives Sarah a warning look, so Sarah takes the money and uses it to buy a soda at the bar. Meanwhile, back at the murder scene, police and a medic had arrived to pick up Tintin's body that was riddled with his knives sticking into him, which Officer Albrecht identifies.
Tintin, one of T-Bird's little helpers, probably shouldn't have played with knives.
He quips as Detective Torres approaches him.
So what the hell do we have here, Albrecht?
It could be a number of things, Detective. Rival gangs, although this doesn't look like your typical gang hit.
Albrecht gives his take, which Detective Torres didn't care for.
Come on, Albrecht, spare me. You're a beat cop now, so be a beat cop.
And I'm supposed to have you to thank for that, right?
Word to the wise, watch your fucking mouth. Now, what the fuck is that supposed to be?
Detective Torres refers to the crow outline drawn with Tintin's blood on the wall, which Albrecht glances at.
I call it blood, Detective, but I suppose you'll report it as graffiti.
You can leave my crime scene now, okay?
Albrecht gives the detective a playful wink and shoulder shrug before taking his leave. Back over at Gideon's, he was counting his take for the day when he hears a knock on his door.
Hey, piss off. We're closed.
He yells out, but the visitor ignores him and knocks again.
You must want to be mutilated.
Gideon mutters as he grabs his pistol.
Hey, Dusthead, go sleep it off somewhere else.
Suddenly, the glass on Gideon's door was shattered by a headbutt that was given by none other than Shelley Webster, our painted warrior.
You know, it's rude to keep a girl waiting, Mr. Gideon.
Bitch, you owe me a new fucking door.
Shelley looks back at the damage with a smile on her face before she continues, ignoring Gideon's demand for a new door.
I'm looking for a gold engagement ring with some small diamonds on it.
You're gonna need a fucking coroner, you painted up whore.
Gideon shouts before firing off a shot at Shelley, which hits her in the collarbone, but it doesn't faze her as she laughs it off while Gideon watches her bullet hole instantly heal right before his very eyes, freaking him out.
Oh no. Shit on me. What the fuck? Shit on me.
He cries out in fear and shock before Shelley lifts him back up to his feet and shoves him hard over the glass counter where his cash register is. She leaps up towards his ceiling before hanging herself upside down by the back of her knees, grabbing a baseball bat.
Mr. Gideon, you're not listening to me.
She says coldly before knocking him on the head with the bat and smashing his hand through the glass countertop.
Oh fuck. My hand.
He cries out in pain before he begins to sob as Shelley presses her hand against his mouth to keep him quiet.
Now, listen carefully. A gold engagement ring. You have, yes.
She repeats more firmly and determined, and Gideon nods to act like he knows what she's talking about.
They're back there, bottom cabinets, in a black box. Take 'em. Take the fucking rings. You can shove 'em up your ass or choke on 'em for all I care. You painted freak.
Gideon rambles on as Shelley goes through the box of rings, searching for the one Eric gave her when he proposed to her.
No. No. No, no, no.
She says as she plucks out each ring until finally she found hers, and the memory of Eric's surprised proposal plays through her mind, bringing tears to her eyes as she puts it on her finger.
Eric.
She whispers to herself. Shelley grabs Gideon's shotgun before emptying out a jerry can full of gasoline all over his damaged counter.
You have one last chance to live.
She threatens as she aims the barrel right at Gideon's cold black heart.
Take anything you want, anything. Just please don't kill me.
I'm not gonna kill you, so as long as you tell me where Tintin's little running buddies lay their heads at night.
She offers Gideon a deal, which he takes her up on.
There's this bar called The Pit. That's where they love to hang out together. Fun boy. He has an apartment right upstairs.
Fun boy.
She repeats with a tone filled with rage as the memory of him violating her plays in her mind.
All these overgrown, weak-minded punks with their gimmicky, pirate nicknames.
She yells out as she shatters more of Gideon's counter.
Hold still!
She warns as she takes aim at him again. With her free hand, she chucks some rings at him.
You see all these rings? They represent the lives that you've helped to destroy.
She says with a low growl in her tone.
Oh God, please, darling, don't kill me.
Gideon pleads as he gets down to his knees, shaking uncontrollably while clasping his hands together with his fingers intertwined tightly together.
I'm not going to kill you. Your job is to let them all know that death is on the way.
She loads the remaining into the barrel of the shotgun.
Let him know Shelley Webster sent her best wishes.
She turns around and makes her way towards the when suddenly, Gideon's false courage gets the best of him.
Once you walk out of here, they're gonna erase you slutty ass. You're nothing but a street freak, ya hear me? Street freaks, I tell ya.
Is that gasoline I smell?
Shelley asks, and his eyes widen with realization.
No. Girl, don't do it.
Shelley takes a few steps away from the store before taking aim towards the counter and letting off a shot that makes contact with spilt fuel that sparks a huge explosion, with Gideon barely able to escape out the emergency exit by the skin of his teeth, although his pants caught on fire, which he extinguishes quickly using a nearby puddle. As Shelley walks away from the now burning pawn shop, she sees a police cruiser pulling up with Officer Albrecht emerging out of the driver's side with his pistol aimed at her.
Police! Don't move! You hear me?
I said don't move!
Don't the police usually say freeze?
Shelley asks nonchalantly as she slows her steps to a halt.
Well, I'm the police, young lady, and I say don't move, and if you do, you're dead.
Well, since I'm dead, then I guess that means I can move, right?
With her hands up, Shelley takes a few steps towards the officer who stands firm.
Not another step! This! I mean it! I will shoot!
Then by all means, do what you gotta do, Officer Albrecht.
Shelley dares him to take his shot if he must, but Albrecht stands with his brows furrowed in confusion.
What are you, crazy? Walking up to a gun. Are you high or drunk?
You don't remember me.
What are you on about?
What about Eric? Do you remember Eric Draven?
Eric Draven is dead, ma'am, just like you will be if you don't cooperate. Now on the curb over there. Come on, move.
Shelley complies, taking her seat on the curb as instructed, while Albrecht continues.
I've got backup on the way, just when I think this night can't get any weirder.
Oh, believe me, it gets better.
Shelley starts.
You know a guy named T-Bird, right? He had a friend who loves to play with knives, like the coat?
Shelley tugs on the lapels of the coat that once belonged to the now fallen Tintin.
It was you. You're the one who murdered Tintin.
Albrecht confirms before Shelley would continue on.
He was already dead. He died the moment he stabbed him. They're all dead. They don't realize it, just yet.
Officer Albrecht gets distracted by some looters trying to take what they can from Gideon's, which allowed Shelley the opportunity to disappear, catching Albrecht off guard.
Oh great, great. Homegirl comes out dressed like a mime from hell, and you lose her right out in the open. Man, Tora's gonna have a field day with this.
Meanwhile, back at Top Dollar's HQ, he and Micah were about to partake in an Micah was boiling on their table in a tall pot.
Your mind is bothered by a negative source. I can feel it.
I just wish I was a little hungry, that's all.
Be careful what you wish for.
You just might get it, right? I know.
Their meal would be interrupted when Grange and T-Bird approached the couple with some troubling news.
Just received word that Gideon's pawn shop had burned down to the very foundation.
No one cleared this little event with me.
I had nothing to do with that.
And I'm sure you must be very disappointed.
I've got trouble, boss man. One of my crew has perished.
Yeah? And who might that be, my friend?
Tintin. Someone took all his blades and stuck him in all of his major organs in alphabetical order.
Well, gentlemen, pardon me, but I think it's time for an introspective moment of silence for poor old Tintin.
Dollar says before snorting up some white powder from his tray, with a rolled-up dollar bill as a makeshift straw.
You're working for me tomorrow, right?
Whatever you've got lined up for me, I'll get it done, no sweat.
Good. That's very reassuring. Now, I need the story on Gideon's. What caused his place to burn down? Was it a natural disaster? Act of God? Call him in. Make sure he's aware that I need to know.
Dollar orders Grange before dismissing them. Moments later, in a different part of town, Sarah was about to hit the street on her skateboard when a car was driving up fast, but fortunately for Sarah, she was pulled out of harm's way by Shelley right in the nick of time.
Hey, let me go, you freak.
The young girl yells at the woman, who she's unaware is her friend.
You need to slow down, dickhead.
Sarah yells out at the car that almost hit her before focusing her attention on the mysterious woman who saved her.
There was no way they could have stopped in time.
Whatever, that guy was a total butt-face. I could have made it.
Sarah gives a snarky response, before trying to get a better look at the woman.
What are you supposed to be, a clown or something?
Something like that.
Shelley whispers, before Sarah retrieves her board.
You know? Just once I wish the rain would stop, even for just one day.
The young girl rants as Shelley watches her friend fondly.
A wise man once said it can't rain all the time.
Sarah's eyes widen with realization as she recognizes the woman's voice.
Shelley?
She says before turning around only to see that her friend had already vanished seemingly out of thin air. Meanwhile, at the police station, Albrecht was looking into the Eric Draven and Shelley Webster murder. Albrecht's female colleague Cooper walks into his office with the case file she was able to steal from Detective Tora's desk.
The case file you've requested, my friend.
Cooper hands the file over to Albrecht, who opens it immediately.
Thanks. All right, let's see. Eric Draven had ambitions of becoming a rock star.
Albrecht mutters as he scans the picture of Eric with his rock band.
And Shelley Webster, beautiful young woman with a love for the arts.
Albrecht looks over the picture of Shelley and Eric together and begins to suspect that the woman with the painted face might be the one in the picture, so he grabs a black Sharpie and begins to draw on her face, while Officer Cooper watches on in confusion, feeling concerned for her colleague.
They're gonna have you working the school crosswalks.
She teases as Albrecht finishes up, while he chuckles off what she just said.
I'm okay. Trust me.
You didn't get that file from me, I hear? And don't say you owe me one.
Officer Cooper whispers to him before taking her leave, while Albrecht's suspicions were confirmed.
I owe you one.
He calls out to his colleague. Moments later, over at the pit, in Funboy's apartment upstairs, both he and Darla were in his bedroom shooting up as Shelley makes her way up to them via the fire escape. As the drugged-up couple begin to make out, Shelley's crow flies into the apartment through an open window, which Darla sees as it perches onto the dresser.
There's a big-ass fucking bird over there, baby.
Darla tells her boyfriend, who also takes a look.
It's a squab.
He jokes before they both share a laugh before calling out to the bird as Shelley climbs into the apartment through the same open window before casually strolling in.
Here, fun boy.
Shelley calls to him tauntingly, which trips him out as he thinks the drugs are causing them to see things.
What the fuck?
He mutters before Shelley runs up to them and raises her arm like she's about to stab them, which causes Funboy to flip out.
Bitch! Don't fucking do that! You nearly gave me a fucking heart attack.
He shouts, before Darla starts giggling like a fool.
I honestly thought the bitch was real too.
She whispers into his ear as he goes for his pistol, just in case the figure they're seeing really is real.
Don't worry, baby. It's just the drugs. It has to be.
Funboy tries to convince Darla, but he's mostly trying to convince himself while they see Shelley pull up a chair to sit in before pressing her palm against the barrel of Funboy's gun.
Take your shot, fun boy. You'll have me banged in more ways than one.
Shelley quips before he looks at her confused as he responds, while Darla laughs harder at what the painted warrior just said.
You seriously are fucked up. I mean, have you looked in the mirror lately? You really need some professional help.
He says before taking his shot, which puts a hole through Shelley's hand, causing her to hop out of the chair and dance away from the couple before turning around to show them her hand as it instantly heals right before their very eyes as she laughs at their confusion.
Jesus Christ!
Jesus Christ? Don't worry, you'll see him soon enough. But first, why don't you tell Miss Darla where you were on Devil's Night last year?
Darla's eyes widen with both confusion and shock. She's baffled as to how this girl knows her name.
Bitch! I don't know what you're on, but I don't know who the fuck you are.
Funboy yells before taking another shot at Shelley, this time hitting her chest, which heals instantly.
Ouch.
She says playfully as she approaches him again.
You damned whore! Don't you ever fucking die!
He screams before attempting another shot, but Shelley knocks his hand down, causing him to shoot himself in the leg and for Darla to run to the bathroom to hide.
Oh. I'm sorry. Did that hurt?
Shelley teases him mercilessly.
Fuck yes, it hurts. Look what you did to my sheets.
He says with his final breath, before Shelley drags his now lifeless corpse to the bathroom. Shelley scares Darla, who was shaking in the corner, holding a razor blade, when she kicks the door open. She puts Funboy's body in the tub, before turning the shower on. Then, Shelley focuses her attention on Darla, who tries to fend her off with the razor blade, but Shelley snatches it out of the frightened woman's hands before forcing her to face herself in the mirror.
Look. Mother is the name for God, on the lips and hearts of all children. Do you understand?
Shelley asks Darla, as she squeezes her arm, causing the drug she took to ooze out of her veins.
Morphine is bad for you, Mama.
Darla looks into the painted warrior's eyes with the look of realization as who this dark figure might be that she's dealing with.
Your little girl is out there on the streets, waiting for you to come home.
Shelley releases her grip on Darla, who does not hesitate to take her leave. Meanwhile, downstairs at the bar, Gideon was trying to unwind by having a few shots when he's being approached by Grange from behind.
Did you get burned playing with matches?
Fuck off.
You're needed for a meeting.
Grange informs Gideon before they would see Darla rushing out of the bar.
You stay put. I'ma go check on something.
When Grange reaches Funboy's apartment, he sees the drugged-up goon lying on the floor with his body spasming with a bunch of needles sticking into his chest with a crow insignia drawn on him with his own blood. Grange then looks to the open window where Shelley blows him a kiss before leaping out and vanishing in thin air. Moments later, Gideon was at Top Dollar's HQ with Grange, who brought him there.
And then, this painted-up whore torched my whole fucking place down. Other than that, my day sucked.
I saw the girl too. She blew a kiss at me before taking a leap of faith out the window like she has wings.
Blew a kiss at ya. Magicians.
Dollar shakes his head before leaning in to face Gideon eye to eye.
All right, anything else?
So far, I haven't heard shit about what you plan on doing to take care of all this mess. My livelihood is blown to hell, so I've pretty much lost everything.
You haven't lost everything.
Oh yeah? Well, maybe you're not such a big shot either.
Fair enough. Catch.
Dollar tosses the cooked eyeball, which Gideon catches, but immediately drops it onto the table when he realizes what it was.
Say hello to the last fella who wouldn't cooperate.
Oh shit, that's real.
All the power in the world resides in the eyes, fella.
Dollar says as he walks over to his armory to pull out a katana.
You know you people are out of your damned minds. You know this, don't you?
Gideon exclaims as Grange holds him down in his seat, making sure the former pawn shop owner doesn't go anywhere.
Yeah. I see. It's one of the most important things I've learned from my sister.
Dollar nods towards his half-sister Micah.
Wait, she's your sister.
She's my old man's daughter. What's the matter? You don't see the resemblance.
Dollar asks before touching Gideon's chin with the tip of the katana blade.
Now, let's take it from the top, friend. In more detail, what do you say?
She had a bird with her. It almost pecked my face off. She said to tell you that death was coming for all of you, whatever that means. Webster. Said her name was Shelley Webster. You want to relax that now?
And this bird girl just happened to let you live, huh? How do I know you're not just making this up to save your own ass?
I ain't making this shit up. I ain't twisted like you two fucks.
Gideon starts to relax as Dollar lowers his sword.
All right. A girl and her bird. Sounds touching.
Dollar says before leading Gideon into a shared laugh when suddenly, he drives his katana blade through the man's throat, causing Gideon to choke on his blood.
Oh, for fuck's sakes. Die already, will ya? Give me that thing.
Dollar requests Grange to hand over his pistol, which he does without hesitation before Dollar fires 2 shots into Gideon's body, causing him to finally go limp, which indicates that he's no longer among the living. Dollar thanks Grange before handing him back his pistol.
I'll go check out the cemetery to take a look at the grave and let you know what I find. Oh, and I'll also get janitorial up here to clean this mess up.
Grange says before leaving Top Dollar and Micah alone to enjoy each other. On the other end of town, Sarah had just gotten home and right away she goes through her record collection and pulls out the only record Eric and his band Hangman's Joke ever released. Sarah sets it up on the record player to play a song that has a specific lyric she was looking for. After setting it to play, she hears Shelley's crow perch on a nearby windowsill.
Hey, what are you doing here? You hungry or something?
She says playfully she pets the bird before it leaves when she hears Eric repeat the lyric, "It can't rain all the time due to the record skipping." Sarah's eyes widen as her suspicions of who the mystery woman that saved her was. Meanwhile, Officer Albrecht was back at his apartment examining the picture of Shelley Webster and Eric Draven when he hears a sound from his bedroom, so he goes to check it out. As he eyes his open window, he's suddenly startled by a familiar voice.
Freeze!
Girl! Don't ever do that again.
Shelley picks up the picture he dropped onto the coffee table of her and Eric.
Likeness is spot on. think you've missed your calling, officer.
She says as Albrecht processes the figure he's actually interacting with is the same dying woman he was talking with a year ago, who was being loaded into an ambulance. Shelley gets him a beer from the kitchen before facing him.
So, what? Are you some kind of ghost or something?
Boo.
Shelley teases before opening the beer and offering it to Albrecht, who accepts it. Shelley takes a seat as his chair before answering his question.
I don't know, but I do need to know what happened to us.
Well, you were beaten, stabbed, and raped. Your boyfriend, however, took a 15-story dive out a window.
Shelley begins to tremble with rage as Albrecht tells the story which he notices.
Look, lady, you asked. Come on, read the file. It's all there.
They both stand before Shelley caresses the officer's temples to get his perspective on the events that took place that night. Shelley stumbles back in shock before Albrecht tries to assist her.
Don't touch me!
She warns as tears begin to trickle down her face.
I saw him, my Eric.
She whimpers.
And you were with me at the hospital the whole time.
She says as she evens out her breathing while flashing a warm smile at the officer.
Now look. I was hoping you would come out of it to give me something I can work with.
The officer tries to play off his sympathy, but Shelley knows better.
And there was nothing you could have done?
She asks, slightly frustrated.
Do you truly believe anyone in that complex would have came forward, especially after what happened to you?
Albrecht retorts.
Wish I could have, but unfortunately for me, I stuck my nose in where it wasn't wanted, so they demoted me.
Shelley grabs a frame that houses a picture of Albrecht with a woman.
Is that your wife?
Yeah, well, not anymore. We're getting divorced.
He informs with the obvious pain in his tone.
You know, I was the type who appreciated the little things, and Eric always thought they were trivial, but I would imagine, if he were here now, he may see things differently.
After putting the picture back in its place, Shelley gets back to her feet before slowly making her way towards the front door.
I supposed you're gonna vanish into thin air again, huh?
Figured I'd try the front door this time.
She responds calmly, and Albrecht's face falls.
Look, for what it's worth, I'm sorry as hell for what happened to you and your boyfriend.
Yeah.
Shelley whispers her response before taking her leave.
Yeah.
Meanwhile, several streets away, T-Bird and Skank were walking up to a local liquor store.
Man, I don't know what kind of rat shit got Tintin stuck up like a damn voodoo doll.
Yo, I don't know, man, but Tintin is dead, so we gotta keep moving.
Skank retorts before the two do their infamous fire it up chant. T-Bird then motions for Skank to hit up the store for supplies, but Skank opens his arms in confusion, wondering what T-Bird wants.
Smokes and road beers. Be quick.
T-Bird orders, before making his way across the street to sit in his car while he waits for his buddy. While Skank was in the store getting the stuff, T-Bird decides to light up a stogie when Shelley's crow lands on the blower that sticks out of the hood of the car, which catches his attention before Shelley pops up from behind him with Funboy's pistol aimed in between his eyes.
What the fuck are you supposed to be?
You're a passenger. Now, do us both a favor, drive.
Shelley orders T-Bird, who does as he told while Skank from inside the store saw the whole thing, so he comes running out of the store, but it was too late. Skank came running out to the street, not paying attention till the last second when he's hit by a car that stops before the angry driver gets out ready to confront the injured goon before getting knocked out for his efforts, allowing Skank to steal the car and chase after T-Bird. T-Bird's forced reckless driving catches the attention of local law enforcement who were sitting by in a cruiser on a coffee break when they see the speeding Thunderbird whip by before making their pursuit with their lights flashing and sirens roaring in the rainy night air.
Oh look, you got the heat on us, doll. When they chase us like this, they're not our friends.
T-Bird says as he continues to drive. They would eventually ditch the cops before arriving at the docks, where Shelley has T-Bird duct taped to the driver's seat.
So what's this all about? Did we have something, darling?
You and your little helpers busted into a loft and brutally murdered a couple that was supposed to get married on Halloween last year, remember?
What? You mean that old place downtown? Oh, no, nah. It was supposed to be a simple clean and relocate. Not my fault that little lady wasn't cooperating with our relocation program. Then her idiot boyfriend showed up and turned it into a giant clusterfuck. Why? What do you want? Speak to me, damn it. Speak!
T-Bird demands as Shelley approaches his window with more duct tape, while his eyes widen in realization as he begins to recognize her.
You! But it can't be. It can't be you. We shanked you and...
Shelley shoves his head against the headrest before taping it in place.
No! You can't be you! This is the real world. There ain't no coming back.
T-Bird begins to recite the scripture from the Satanic Bible.
Abashed, the devil stood, and felt how awful goodness is, how awful goodness is.
Shelley lights up a flare before dropping it into his lap, causing him to tremble, before she shifts the car into gear. She waves farewell as she watches the car drive away towards the end of the pier, before pulling out a remote control. Right when the car was about to launch off the pier, Shelley presses the red button which causes the car to detonate before flipping off of the edge of the pier, which Skank was able to see when he finally pulls up. He cries out as he watches his buddy go up in flames before hitting the waters below. Shelley then pulls out a Zippo lighter before tossing it to the ground, where it draws a large crow insignia in flames before she walks away from the scene with her crow landing on her shoulder. The next morning, Sarah wakes in the living room when she smells eggs being cooked in the kitchen by her mom, Darla.
Do you like your eggs sunny side or over easy? I can't remember.
Sarah was weirded out by Mom's sudden nurturing spirit, so she decides to test her.
What are you doing? I don't even like eggs.
What are you talking about? You love eggs.
Yeah, when I was like 5.
So, what is it now? Black coffee and cigarettes.
So what did you take to make you feel like Mother of the Year?
Oh, it wasn't drugs. Someone just gave me a wake-up call, that's all.
Darla explains as Sarah's brows furrowed while she thinks of the possibility that her mother may have had an encounter with Shelley.
Who?
Nobody. It's not important.
You're acting weird. Did you win the lottery or something, Darla?
Sarah gets a little snarky with her mom, who was trying her best, but she felt the sting in her daughter's words, so she decides to throw in the towel in frustration and defeat.
Forget it. I never was any good at this mommy shit.
Darla was about to throw the eggs in the trash.
Over easy. I like my eggs over easy, Mom.
Sarah tells her mother in the most sweet and apologetic tone she could muster, which Darla felt in her heart, so she flips the eggs in the pan before sharing a warm smile and laugh with her daughter, which they haven't done in quite some time. Meanwhile, back at the police station, Albrecht was called into Detective Tora's office.
Albrecht! Get in here! Look familiar?
Torres presents the officer with a picture of the now charred T-Bird, who was fused to his burnt-down car.
T-Bird. Arson was his specialty. Looks like a bad accident. Probably zigged when he should have zagged. Case closed.
Bull fucking shit! Come here. Look, I know you've been having these little powwows with some painted-up bitch, so tell me. Who's the whore clown with the painted face?
Torres demands, but Albrecht keeps his cool.
Hey, you're the detective, so you tell me.
All right, so you steal this case file out of my office, while I got a vigilante skank out there knocking off scumbags left and right that you know but won't tell me who she is. And now you want to look at this picture of the guy we've been tracking down who zigged when he should have zagged. And you expect me to believe that this is just some automobile accident? Come on!
Yeah, nice job, detective. I didn't want to interrupt, but you really gotta start writing these things down.
All right, asshole, if that's how you want to play it, then the captain will a nice love letter about you on his desk. So welcome to the first day of the rest of your suspension.
Suspension? For what?
Misconduct.
Torres replies before Albrecht storms out of his office. Hours later, back at the loft, Shelley was sitting by the fireplace going through pictures of her with Eric from her former life. As she tosses the pictures into the fire, She hears footsteps coming up the stairs right outside of the apartment, so she vanishes quickly. The door slowly opens to reveal Sarah, who just wanted to see her old friend. Once Sarah enters, she noticed the loft had been cleaned and repainted before she was greeted by the cat Gabriel, who she cradles in her arms.
Gabriel? Hey, I thought you were dead. But you're not dead, are you?
She asks before letting the cat down.
Hello? Shelly? I know it was you from that night, when you yanked me off the street.
Sarah calls out to Shelley, knowing the woman is home and is determined to see her.
I knew it was you when you quoted one of Eric's songs. When you said can't rain all the time. That is from his song, right?
Sarah begins to feel sad and frustrated.
Shelly, please. Come out. I've missed you, and Eric.
She finally gives up and about to leave.
To hell with you. I thought you loved me like a sister.
As Sarah heads for the front door, she sees the light radiating the large round window and against the wall with Shelley's shadow blocking most of it.
Sarah, you'll always be my little sister.
Sarah turns around before she comes running to Shelley so the two can share a snug embrace.
I've missed you so much.
Sarah whimpers.
I've missed you too, sweetie.
Shelley responds warmly before wiping the tears from the young girl's eyes.
How's your mom these days?
It was you, wasn't it? You got my mom to come home.
Sarah figures.
I may have given her a little scare.
Shelley gives a knowing wink. Meanwhile, back at the cemetery, Grange approaches Shelley's now empty grave to inspect it and confirms that she indeed has returned from the dead. Hours later at around dinner time, Sarah along with Gabriel were hanging out at Mickey's hot dog stand when Albrecht pulls up to join.
Dinner on you this time, or me again?
Officer Albrecht quips, but Sarah ignores his joke as she's still processing all the recent events, including reuniting with her old friend.
Fine. Don't talk to me.
Albrecht teases.
When someone dies, they can't come back, right?
Sarah inquires.
Well, that's what I thought. Think you might have a guardian angel or something.
I just think I'm going crazy.
Sarah starts to doubt herself.
Well, you're not the only one.
Albrecht gives a subtle hint that he's seen Shelley as well.
You've seen her too?
I saw somebody. Anyone in particular you're referring to?
Albrecht asks as he believes Sarah may have been in contact with Shelley recently since the two girls were close.
Shelley didn't come back for me. She came back because what happened to her and Eric. I don't think we can be friends anymore because she's dead, and I'm alive.
Sarah says as a lone tear escapes her eye.
You need a friend to take you home?
Officer Albrecht offers Sarah a ride home, which she accepts. Over at Top Dollar's HQ, the injured skank reports what happened with T-Bird before Dollar shows him a picture of Shelley.
Yeah, that's her! That's her!
Skank confirms as he points to the picture before continuing.
But she looked different. She was paying up like some kind of dead whore. She killed my boy. T-Bird is to you, buddy.
Skank cries out to his fallen friend before taking a swig of beer and doing chanting "Fire it up" while Top Dollar watches with the look of amusement on his face.
You checked the grave?
Yeah, it's empty.
Grave! Grave! Where's my motherfucking grave? Where's my motherfucking grave?
Skank shouts as he attempts to approach Dollar, but Grange shoves the injured goon into a chair, forcing him to take a seat.
Oh man, this girl's gonna get my ass next. This girl's gonna get my ass next.
Skank was cut off by Dollar, who grips his chin, forcing the goon to look up at the crime lord.
Hey, it ain't no ghost.
Dollar reassures Skank.
Watch him. We might need him.
Dollar tells Grange as he refers to Skank. Hours later, Top Dollar holds a meeting with his remaining foot soldiers along with Grange, Micah, and Skank all being present, but little did they realize, Shelley along with her crow who was parched on her shoulder, was listening in from outside on the fire escape.
Gentlemen, now unfortunately our old friend, T-Bird won't be joining us today, due to a slight case of death.
Dollar quips as he starts the meeting.
Now I'm sure you're all aware that Devil's Night upon us, again, so I figured we raise a little hell, cause a little chaos, throw a little party, and make a little profit.
I like the pretty lies.
Micah cuts in, causing the group to share a laugh before Top Dollar continues.
Problem is, it's all been done before. It feels the same.
That's no reason to quit.
Wrong. Best reason to quit. Only reason to quit. Man, it's an idea that attracts others. Like-minded, the idea expands. Becomes an institution. What was the idea? That's what's been bothering me, boys. When I would think of the idea itself, it would put a big old smile on my face. You see, gentlemen, greed is for amateurs. Disorder, chaos, anarchy. Now that's fun.
Dollar knocks on the table to emphasize the word fun.
What about Devil's Night?
What about it? We've started the first fires in this goddamn city, and now they want to commercialize it. You know what they have now? Devil's Night greeting cards. Isn't that just precious?
Dollar chuckles sarcastically.
The idea has become the institution.
You don't want us to start one that's 5 times the whole city?
No. No, I want you to light a fire so goddamn big enough the gods will notice us again. That's what I'm saying. I want all of you men to look me in the eye again and say, are we having fun or what? Hey! You! What's your name? Skank? You don't feel light?
I feel like a little worm on a big fucking hook.
Skank yells out in fear and confusion before the group roars with laughter.
Feeling like a little worm on a big fucking hook. Well, my boy, your mama must be damn proud of you.
Dollar laughs before Shelly's crow lands on the table opposite side from Dollar.
How the hell that thing get in here?
Gentlemen!
Shelly shouts as she approaches the table before taking a seat on it.
I suppose you're all wondering why you're gathered here today?
She quips before letting out a cackle, but Top Dollar wasn't amused.
Funny, so you're her the Avenger of sorts, the killer of all killers. Like the outfit, darlin', not sure about the face though.
All I want is him.
Shelly says coldly as she points at Skank, who's freaking out, but is being held hostage-like by Grange.
Well, princess, hate to break your heart, but you can't have him.
All right, you've obviously made your decision. Now, let's see you enforce it.
Man, this is boring the shit out of me. Kill her.
Dollar orders, and with that, every goon at the table unloads their firearms into Shelly's body, causing it to tremble from the impact of the bullets before she finally falls back and off the table, leaving everybody to think she's dead, again.
Ooh, that had to hurt.
Dollar quips before the room is filled with laughter while one of the other foot soldiers makes his way around to where the painted warrior had fallen, but when he approached her location, he can clearly see she was gone.
What the? She's gone.
The foot soldier yells before taking a round to his temple, which killed him instantly before Shelly emerges and leaps onto the table before shooting at every foot soldier that was moving. During the gunfire, Grange sneaks Top Dollar and Micah out of the room to make their escape. Shelly runs out of ammo, so she makes her way to Dollar's cabinet, where she pulls out one of his swords.
You all are gonna die.
She gives the remaining thugs their warning before she begins slice and dice the last of them while Skank was hiding underneath the long meeting table, which she knew as she leaped back onto the table before driving the katana blade through it. Skank screamed when he sees the blood-covered blade before trying to hightail it towards the exit, but Shelly was too quick for the injured goon, so she catches him before looking him in the eye.
Tonight is not a good one for you to be a bad guy, isn't it, Skank?
I'm not Skank. That's Skank right there. Skank's dead.
You damn right, he is.
She responds before throwing Skank out a window, causing him drop from 2 stories before crash landing on the hood and windshield of a police cruiser. Seconds later, a group of police officers come rushing into the room before aiming their guns at Shelly, shouting for her freeze, but she quickly takes her leave by leaping out another window onto the fire escape, where some of the police outside fire their rounds at her as she climbs up to the roof. She leaps from roof to roof before leaping off to drop down street side, where an old Chevy Monte Carlo pulls up to her.
Get in!
The driver was none other than the suspended police officer himself, Albrecht. Shelly quickly stumbles her way into the passenger side before Albrecht peels out.
There's so many damn cops. You think they were giving away free coffee and donuts or something?
Albrecht suddenly slams on his brakes, bringing the car to a screeching halt, stopping right in time for a crossing police cruiser that whips by. When he looks over at Shelley, she had already vanished, leaving some of her blood behind on the passenger seat.
I knew you were gonna do that. I knew it.
Albrecht says before nodding. Meanwhile, in Grange's SUV, he, along with Top Dollar and Micah, were discussing strategy on how to deal with the invincible Avenger once and for all.
Look at this city. It should be burning by now.
The woman, she has power, but it's power you can take from her.
I like her already.
All we need to do is get the bird, and the power is all ours.
So we kill the bird, then we kill the girl.
Moments later, Shelley arrives at the cemetery right across from the church. As she walks up towards Eric's grave that's right to hers, she sees Sarah lying on Eric's grave asleep, so when finally approaches, she shakes the young girl gently to wake her. Sarah jolts slightly, but was relieved to see it was her friend who woke her.
You're probably thinking I'm crazy for being at a cemetery this late, right?
It's the safest place in the world to be.
That's because everybody here is dead.
Sarah responds.
It's late, Sarah, and I'm pretty sure your mom is worried about you.
Shelley encourages her friend to head home.
You didn't say goodbye.
In all fairness, Sarah, that was out of our hands, so you can't hold that against Eric and I.
Shelley takes her engagement ring off of her finger before she loops a piece of string through.
Eric gave this to me once, and now, I want you to have it.
She wraps the string around Sarah's neck before knotting it, letting her young friend wear the ring around her neck with a makeshift necklace which brings tears to Sarah's eyes.
This way, you'll remember us, and no matter what, we'll always be with you.
Sarah and Shelley share a momentary embrace.
I promise, I'll never take it off.
Sarah whimpers before they pull away.
You're right. I should be getting home. Bye, Shelley.
Goodbyes are forever, Sarah. I'll see you later.
The girls exchange warm smiles before Sarah finally takes her leave. As Sarah was walking by the church, she was quickly nabbed by Grange, who popped seemingly out of nowhere.
Hush now, darling.
Grange brings Sarah inside the church, where Top Dollar and Micah were waiting. Once Grange brought Sarah close enough, Dollar noticed the ring hanging from Sarah's neck, which he snatches off of her.
What is that? Some sort of souvenir from your friend? How about I hold on to this for good luck? What do you say?
Meanwhile, back at the cemetery, Shelley was trying to have a moment with her beloved Eric at his grave. Suddenly, from her crow's perspective, she can see Sarah was in danger while she was calling for her.
Shelley. Shelley, help.
Shelley snaps out of her moment before rushing over to the church. After entering the church, Shelley looks around her surroundings as her crow perches on her shoulder for a brief moment before perching on one of the pews. Grange takes aim at the mythical black bird, letting off a round which hits the bird's wing, causing it to fall off the pew before it would hobble around disoriented. Shelley was confused, not knowing what she should do, since she hasn't been attacked yet. She sees Top Dollar emerging from a shadow to make his presence felt.
Quick impression for you.
Call, bang, fuck, I'm dead.
Look. Just give me the girl, so we can all walk out of here.
Why don't you give me a second to think about it?
Dollar says, leaving Shelley standing by with her brows furrowed in confusion while she anticipates his next move.
Ah, fuck it.
Dollar says right before firing a shot into her shoulder. Shelley giggled at first, before realizing that she wasn't healing and was no longer invulnerable.
Oh, damn it.
She says before dropping to the ground. Top Dollar wasted very little time taking advantage of the situation.
Well, looks like we're not doing so good anymore, are we?
He teased before punching the injured woman in the face.
At least you're at the appropriate place to die.
He kicks her in ribs this time.
Gotta say, for a ghost you bleed just fine.
Grange can spot the crow moving around and cawing.
It's still kicking.
Then kill it.
Dollar orders before Grange cocks his gun and takes aim.
Bye-bye, birdie.
He says before taking a shot to his chest by Albrecht, who just arrived with his gun ready. He and Dollar would exchange gunfire before Dollar decides to retreat into the tower to make his up, but he stops momentarily to give Micah his gun. Meanwhile, Albrecht rushes over to Shelley to talk strategy.
They've taken Sarah. And don't worry about me, I can handle it.
Shelley assures the off-duty officer.
Not worried at all, so here's what I'm thinking. You stay in front of me, and once they're fresh out of bullets, I'll arrest them.
Sounds like a wonderful plan, but we have a problem.
Shelley shows Albrecht her bullet wound that was bleeding out.
Oh, shit, you're bleeding all over the place, man. I thought you were Superwoman or something.
Albrecht asks Shelley, feeling confused.
Yeah, well, not anymore.
Well then, I guess you're gonna need my help after all. Come on your feet.
Albrecht says before helping the wounded warrior to her feet and leading her to the tower. Right when they enter, Albrecht and Micah exchange gunshots before Albrecht takes one in his shoulder, causing his to sit in a corner.
So much for staying behind me.
Shelley says as she checks on him.
Yeah, think I'd messed up.
Albrecht says with a hoarse whisper. Shelley slowly approaches Micah, who has the crow in her arm that she had picked up during the shootout between Dollar and Albrecht, with Top Dollar's pistol aimed at the painted warrior.
This is all the power you've once held. No, it is mine.
Suddenly the crow frees itself from the evil woman's clutches before pecking her eyes out, causing her to fall over the wooden railing before falling to her death, landing right in front of Albrecht, who had the look of disgust on his face. Finally, Shelley reaches the roof where she sees Top Dollar holding Sarah hostage.
Let her go! Take me instead! I won't fight you!
Shelley offers her life in exchange for Sarah's, but Dollar got greedy.
All right.
Dollar says before shoving Sarah aside off of the roof, but the young girl was able to catch herself by holding onto a ledge, hanging for dear life.
No!
Shelley screams as she tries to reach out for Sarah, before Dollar gets a kick into her midsection. It was an intense back and forth fight in the lightning storm, with the rain pouring down. Suddenly, Dollar unsheathes his katana before taking a few missed swings at Shelley, who manages to get some space between her and Dollar long enough for her grip a wrought iron sculpture that was shaped like sword, which she pulls out off of a brick pillar and uses it to defend herself. The fight rages on until Shelley knocks Dollar out, or so she thought.
Sarah! You okay?
Shelley calls out to her friend.
Shelley, look out.
Sarah tries to warn Shelley, but it was too late. Shelley can see Top Dollar's katana blade protruding out of her stomach, realizing he had stabbed her through the back before he pulls it out, causing the woman to sit back against the brick pillar. Dollar kneels down before Shelley to give his final words to her.
You know, my daddy once said that every man has a devil in him, and you can't rest till you find him. I'm the cause of all the chaos here. Hell, nothing happens in this town without my say-so. So in case you're wondering, yes, I'd sent those men to your apartment. You were asked to leave, and you should have done so while you had the chance. But no. You refused. So, sorry if I ruined your little wedding plans with your beau, darling. But if it's any consolation, you have put a smile on my face, and I am gonna miss you.
Dollar pulls out a dagger, but before he can finish Shelley off, she gives her response.
I have something for you. I have no need for it anymore.
And with that, she grips his face with one hand at first, causing him to drop his dagger.
30 hours of me!
She begins as she grips his face with both hands, now squeezing the life out of Dollar as she shows him the memories of what happened to her and her beloved Eric Draven.
Fighting for my life! Losing everything! And now, it's all for you!
She sobs as she releases Dollar, letting his body fall off of the roof only for it to land on a gargoyle statue whose horns poke through Dollar's body, causing his blood to pour out of the statue's mouth. Shelley managed to rescue Sarah from her precarious predicament.
It's okay, Sarah. It's over now.
Shelley reassures Sarah as they embrace each other for a moment before making their way down the tower, back to Albrecht, who was still sitting in the corner very much alive.
Go check on him.
Shelley tells Sarah, who does as she was told.
Are you alive?
Sarah asks Albrecht, who nods as he smiles warmly at her.
I guess this means the man of the hour is dealt with.
The injured off-duty cop asks Shelley, who nods in confirmation.
You are a lifesaver. The memories you've held on to really helped. Thank you.
Don't mention it.
Albrecht responds before Shelley struggles back up to her feet and looks over at Sarah.
Stay with him till help arrives.
He's gonna be okay, right, Shelley?
Yeah, she tends to do that a lot.
Moments later, Shelley stumbles her way back to Eric's grave before tumbling onto it.
Eric.
She mutters as she cuddles up to his tombstone before her eyes flutter shut and her body goes limp. Suddenly, Eric's spirit approaches her before he runs his fingers through her hair, causing her to wake and look up at him, realizing he's come to take her back home with him. Meanwhile, Albrecht was being stretchered out of the church, with Sarah by his side.
At least it finally stopped raining, huh?
Can't rain all the time.
Sarah says as Detective Torres approaches him.
Albrecht? What the fuck is this?
You run along home now, all right? I promise, I'm okay.
Albrecht reassures Sarah, who nods before taking her leave.
Your vigilante is on the roof, Detective.
Albrecht pulls the detective in close.
You've missed it.
He teases before letting the detective go.
Get him out of here.
Detective Torres scowls. Sarah makes her way back to the cemetery, where she sees Shelley's grave looking completely restored. It was like it had never been disturbed. Suddenly, Shelley's crow lands on her tombstone with her ring in its beak. Sarah walks up to the bird before holding her hand out so the crow can drop Shelley's ring into Sarah's palm.
Thanks,
she says to the mythical bird before finally making her way back home to her mother, Darla.
If the people we love are stolen from us, the way to have them live on is to never stop loving them. Buildings burn, people die, but real love is forever.